my name is Mayana. Today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up. I do have 32 books to talk about, but trust me, we won't be here forever. And the way I do my wrap-ups when I read a bunch in a month is that I split it up by category. So just in case you don't read that genre or you don't give a damn about the genre, you can just skip to a genre that you care about, a genre that you're interested in, and whatnot. So let me just get started on this wrap-up because I'm going to be here forever, so I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit. So I am going to start off with a book that I DNF'd, and that is This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi. I was originally doing a reading vlog for it, and I tried to read the book and I just could not. I got about 200 pages into the book, and I found that 200 pages into the book, it still didn't have a plot. And for me, reading a fantasy with no plot doesn't make any sense. I didn't really care about the characters that were introduced. I was interested in the world, but there was no plot, so I had to leave. I was extremely bored, so I just DNF'd it. And I watched Tahira from Sincerely Tahiri's live stream because she actually picked it for her book club. And she said that basically the book really didn't anything happen. The ending was really good, so I might go back and read it for the ending. But that'll be when the sequel comes out. I'm going to listen to what people are saying, especially Tahira. I'm going to listen to what Tahira is saying about the sequel, if it has plot, if it's really good, and then I'll go back and listen to it. Let's get into fantasy. So I read 5 fantasy things. Also, I want to state that this year I'm trying to, at least for the next 6 months, I'm trying to focus on reading books that I own. So out of the 32 books I read, I have 18 physical, so that is about half the books that I read were physical and the other half were ebook or audiobook, which I think is not like the best, but it's good enough, so we'll take it. I read Caraval and I gave it 2 stars. I am thinking of doing a rant review on it just because I read Caraval before. I had given it 4 stars, so I was rereading it just to continue on with the series. And I don't know if it was the audiobook I listened to or what, but I found the book extremely annoying. This book is basically about these 2 sisters, and one sister ends up going missing. Her name is Tella, and so the main character, Scarlett, a guy named Julian, comes to her. Basically is helping her find her sister. She's at Caraval, and her sister is kind of like, they have to like find her sister, but it's kind of a game. And sounds interesting, right? No. Scarlett, the main character, was extremely annoying. Julian kept telling her, don't tell everybody why you're here, what you're looking for, don't trust anyone, and she kept not listening. I thought that Julian wasn't very like the kind of guy that they're trying to make him seem like really sexy and like, think Thomas Caswell from the Lunar Chronicles. That's what they were trying to make him out to be. And I just personally didn't really care for him or their relationship together. It was very instant loving. These books take place over a course of like 4 or 5 days, and they fell in love pretty fast, and I just don't care about instant love and YA. I really don't. And I also didn't like the way that Scarlett, like, I felt like the way that the sister relationship wasn't written well, because out loud Scarlett was like, I love my sister, we're besties, and then in her mind she basically was victim blaming her sister because, you know, her sister was the one who was abused a lot because she was like a bad girl, and she basically was thinking like she wasn't thinking it, but I could, like, it's almost as if it was written in there that like Scarlett basically blamed her sister for why she was getting abused, and it just didn't sit right with me. And if you want to know my full thoughts on the book, I have a Goodreads review for it. I highly recommend checking it out. I wrote it when I woke up, and I wake up very angry for some reason. I'm a very angry person, so it's a very angry review. I don't know what to say. All the other books that I have in the fantasy section, I do own physically. So we're gonna start off with some YA. So I have 6 Crimson Crayons, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I personally okay, so this book is about this girl. She sees something happen in the water. She's trying to tell her family, and her family just doesn't believe her, and so her dad makes her work with her stepmom. And she also like ruined her like engagement that she had, and so she doesn't really like her stepmom, and she sees magic is like dead, and she sees her stepmom doing magic, and like she can do magic too. And so her stepmom turns her siblings into cranes, and she can't talk or speak or anything. And it's like a journey book, and I just don't like journey books. I don't know why I keep reading them, because I just keep thinking like I can be a journey girl, like I can love journey books, but it's like the way that they're executed is just so boring to me for some reason. And like there are some exceptions, which you will learn this month. I did read some exceptions, but for this one It was okay. I didn't really care for the love interest. I did like the main character in the beginning. I thought she was very like cutesy and like all that stuff, but after a while it did kind of start to get like annoying. And like I really like how the author introduced like 6 brothers and like their siblings. She like they talked about she like introduced their sibling dynamics before everything, so like you could really get to know these characters before they turned into Koreans. And I think that was like really good. I just don't think, like, I don't hate this book, but I just don't think this author is for me. But also I am falling out of love with YA, so it could just be a me thing. The next book I have to talk about is Throne of Glass. I started to reread this. I was gonna like annotate it and reread the entire series because so some of like the romance girlies were like reading this book, and like I think they're on like Queen of Shadows, so I was like, okay, period, like I can read like 3 books in 1 month and catch up to them. And then like I read Throne of Glass, I gave it 3 stars, and I just remember like it's just okay. Like I know the book gets good with Air of Fire, but I just like I had so many other things to read. I just did not feel like rereading these books. I do have time to catch up kind of, and I've already read 1 book, so I only have 3 books to read. So I mean, I guess we'll see, but with my July TBR, I just don't see that happening. And now we're gonna move into adult. Even though Throne of Glass is adult in a certain point, the first book is YA, so it's kind of like a good transition into adult. So then we have a short, it's not a short story, but it's a quick story that I read, Nettle and Bone. So I read this book for a reading vlog. This reading vlog is going to be coming up soon, but it's basically I swap my TBR for reading time, so you can kind of watch that vlog for more in-depth thoughts about this book. Just know I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I did like it. This is my first T. Kingfisher book. T. Kingfisher has been taking the BookTube girls over by storm. Very glad I can now say that I've read my first T. Kingfisher book, and I really do love the writing in this book. It is so beautiful. From the first 2 sentences, I like fell in love with the story. Like I love the way she writes, and like how like this world has magic, but like it's not like the main focus of the world, and like it's literally just an adventure story. Unfortunately for me, I just don't like adventure stories, so I did find myself bored once she kind of went on an adventure. But I do really like T. Kingfisher's writing, and I can't wait to check out more books by this author because I definitely have a T. Kingfisher TBR. Then for the last fantasy book I read The Way of Kings, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. I have so much fun. I do have a full reading vlog on this, so if you want to experience me reading this book for the first time, definitely check that out. More in-depth thoughts, definitely check that out, because I do have 30 books to talk about, so I gotta keep this video short. So I really liked The Way of Kings. I had a lot of fun reading it. I really love the world and especially the characters. This book is a character driven book, and as someone who needs plot and character without having plot, I just had so much fun reading this book. And I would tell you what it's about, but we would be here all day. Next, we're going to move into my biggest genre, and that is romance. So I read a series called I forgot what it's called. I want to call it Locked Up Liars, but that's the first book. But it's basically St. View Prison series. So I gave all 3 books in this trilogy 3 stars. The first book is Locked Up Liars, the second book is Solitary Sinners, and the third book is Fatal Felons. This book is a reverse harem book. You guys know I have to get my reverse harem books in every single month. So this book is about this girl. Her sister and her friend are like going out to this club, and she runs into her ex-boyfriend. Now the main character has always liked her sister's ex-boyfriend, but obviously can't make a move because that's her sister's ex-boyfriend. Her sister ends up dying, and they suspect it's the ex-boyfriend, and the main character knows it was not him. So she ends up like going to the prison and like meeting one of the prison guards, and then she has to try to get this guy out of jail. So she ends up like getting this lawyer, and they end up all forming this romance. I read this book for one reason and one reason only. Like we all know why we all read reverse harems, and this book just felt like a tease. Like it's like I wanted something and they were trying to give me plot. I did not come here for plot. Like the plot was great, yes, but it was just too much plot. I did not come here for plot. I came here for one thing and one thing only, and it was giving me a lot less of what I wanted and more plot. If I wanted to read a plot, I would go read a romance book. You know what I'm saying? I would go read a full romance book. You know what I'm saying? Not a quick little 300-page read. And then, like, as the series went on, it's like I wanted a specific thing to happen, and I knew that it would happen in this book, which is basically all the characters together. I really love in my reverse harems when all the characters are together, if you know what I mean. And this book was gonna give me that, and it only gave me that in the third book, and I only got like 2 or 3 scenes of that. Excuse me, what am I here for then? So I gave the books 3 stars. They were fine. I may check out the author's other books because they're all reverse harems, but I don't know. Anyways, and then I read My Mechanical Romance, which the author is Olivia Blake. Olivia Blake is her pen name, so this is her real name. I gave the book 3 out of 5 stars. I read it because it was a rivals to lovers story, and I love rivals. It is just a typical high school romance. It was about this girl who, like, she's really good with like mechanical things but kind of doesn't want to be good with it, and this guy, he's also really good with mechanical things, but he's kind of popular, but he's a nerd. Confusing. And then, you know, rival stories that have to work together one day. I thought this book was boring. I'm not gonna hold you up. I just thought it was boring. I have really nothing else to say. So then I read, let's pretend I have all the books. So I read the Calloway Sisters books. I read Kiss the Sky, Hot House Flower, Fuel the Fire, A Long Way Down, and Some Kind of Perfect. So basically every other book I gave 5 out of 5 stars, and then the other book I gave 3. So Caballaway books I gave 5 out of 5 stars, and then Risey books I gave 3 out of 5 stars. So Kiss the Sky I gave 5 out of 5. Hot House Flower I gave 3 out of 5. Fuel the Fire 5 out of 5. Long Way Down 3 out of 5. Some Kind of Perfect, no rating. You guys know. Okay, so a few years ago I read the Addicted to You series, and I thought the books were okay. Like, this is when, I think this was last year, when like everybody was like on Twitter was like obsessed, well, the romance girlies at least, we're all obsessed with reading this because we all love Caballaway. I do not care about Lily and Lo. I'm sorry. I think that their books are really boring. I think that Lily is annoying as a character. Whatever. I don't understand why they get all the books, and I didn't want to read this series because I hated how I didn't get to see how Rose and Connor fell in love. It really irritated me how, like, in their books they were already together, because I don't like when romance couples like are together. Like, once they're together in the book I kind of check out, but that's only because authors don't know how to keep that spark. Christina and Becca Ritchie kept the Caballaway spark. Oh my god, these books were freaking amazing. They were amazing. Like, I cannot wait to reread these. The smut, Connor, oh my god, I cannot wait to get the rest of the books in the series. And then the epilogue novel is getting like a new cover, and it's just gonna all look so pretty, and I'm so happy that I gave these books a try. And I'm probably gonna read the one about their kids, maybe, I don't know. And yeah, Hot House Flower I didn't really like particularly because, or Rose and Connor, because I personally find it really creepy, their relationship. I thought it was okay, but then when I read their book and Reich was like, oh yeah, I've loved you since you were 16, that's supposed to be romantic? You should be in jail. You should be in prison. That's disgusting. And then honestly, I would not have mind, I don't know if it was this book or A Long Way Down, but whatever, I would not have mind this relationship. Like, I'm not the kind of person, well, I don't really know my feelings on like age gap relationships. Like, well, under 18 age gap relationships makes me uncomfortable, and like she was like, I want to say 18 in this book, so like yeah. But that whole, like, it was giving groomer. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it was giving groomer. And then there's a part where like I think I would have, like, because she was 18, I think I would have understood a lot more, because he wasn't really giving groomer until he set the 16 line basically. But it wasn't really giving groomer at first. My only issue was like she only dated older men, and like there's an issue within that. And instead of the authors like actually like talking about that issue, they kind of just was like, yeah, I dated older guys, we never had sex though. It's still weird that you only date older guys, and like there's an issue in that, and we should talk about it, especially because you're gonna date another older guy. And it kind of was just like brushed over. Also, and then I read an arc I have, which is Love in the Time of Serial Killers. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. This is about this girl who is obsessed with true crime, me, and she ends up, her dad passes away, and her brother move into the dad's house to renovate it so they can sell it. And the neighbor Sam it's like kind of creepy, or the main character wants him to be creepy so bad. Like she wants him to be a serial killer so bad. And not that she wants him to be a serial killer, but it's like, you know, when you are obsessed with true crime, you kind of are like, is this person a serial killer? This person could be a serial killer. You're kind of just always like, this person could kill me right now. And so that's kind of how she was with Sam. But then like she just couldn't hide it anymore. Like, not hide it, but she just couldn't like not acknowledge it anymore that he was just a good guy. The only thing is, I just thought that this book was really boring. There was kind of like nothing going on in it. There was like no plot line. I kind of would have liked it if there was like a mystery aspect to it, where like somebody was a serial killer, or I guess like a cozy mystery vibe to it. It really was just her writing a dissertation about serial killers and falling in love with this guy that she wanted so badly to be a serial killer. It has so much potential. I just found it boring. I'll probably still buy it when it comes out because I'm obsessed with the cover, but whatever. And then I read my best freaking romance of the month. It's actually ironic because this author wrote the best book I read this month and the worst book I read this month. Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. This book, oh my gosh, I don't know why it's not talked about much more than it already is, but I also don't care because this was like a hidden gem. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This is by the author of In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I talked about this book in my mid-year freakout, and this book is a second chance romance. It is about this girl who, her and her ex-boyfriend have been broken up for some years now. He is now coming back to her life, and she thinks that he is coming back in her life to get revenge. I will say this book is really heavy on politics, but in like a good way. I really didn't mind it. I actually thought it was like really intriguing, and it kept the story going. And she basically cheated on him because she thought that he cheated on her, so she cheated on him with his enemy to get back at him. I don't really, but it wasn't really cheating, but whatever. And so it like ruined his life. Like he failed, like he was studying to be a lawyer, like he failed his exam, he didn't get into the top school, and like that's why she thinks he's coming back to get back like at her. And I really love this book because one thing I love about second chance romances is the angst. Like the person like when they end on bad terms and then seeing each other for like the first time. And like I love how like in this book he had a girlfriend, so it technically wasn't like they didn't see each other and fall in love all over again. Like obviously those feelings came back up, but she wasn't head over heels. Like she was more so worried about him trying to ruin her perfect life that she spent so much time. And like I just thought this book was really good. The banter was really good. I wasn't even done with this book. I had to like highlight the page that I had to annotate. It was just so perfect. Ugh, I'm sorry, I'm rereading the scenes. It was just so beautiful. But yes, and then there was like so much drama in this book, and like I love drama in books, and like I will say like a lot of people do not like the main character. I was reading this book, I was like kicking my feet and giggling. Like I just love fun. I'm sorry, like I like funny jokes, childish people, as long as they're not too childish. She obviously gets the character development. Like I don't know why people hate fun characters. I do not know why people hate unlikable characters. I don't think the main character was unlikable. I think she was actually very realistic for a character. Sorry, I gotta go to bat for my girl because sorry. Also, this book had one of my favorite tropes, which is like nicknames and calling each other by last name. So her last name is Stone, but they used to call her Stoner in high school, so the love interest always refers to her as Stoner. So it's like my two favorite things, like nicknames and then specific nicknames and then the last name trope, like when they call each other by their last names. Ugh, it gave. I'm sorry, it gave. And anyway, so I was reading this book, and like I went to go on Goodreads to mark it as reading. I was reading other people's comments, and they said that they didn't like the main character, and I was so confused because I loved her. I am obsessed with her. Lee Stone, you will always be famous. Like I don't know what to say. Read this book. It is amazing. I cannot wait for Ashley Winstead's next romance book because she is a genius. Her thrillers I probably won't read, but the romance books, she's a genius. The next book I read is a book I gave 4 out of 5 stars. So y'all are gonna be shook, shaken, and shown. I don't know. So I read Good Girl Complex. I read this one because Kenyon from Ask Told by Kenyon was talking about this book in one of her reading vlogs, and I have been looking at this book for a while. I do have bad girl reputation on NetGalley, but I got a bad girl reputation. I was like, I've been looking at this book, but the reviews weren't that good, and like the girls like was not talking about this book when it came out earlier this year. So I was like, I'm gonna just wait for the sequel, but like I really wanted to read it. And then I watched Kenyon's video, and she talked about how like this book was just messy and fun. And it is. Like, I'm sorry, like, okay, the trope in this book is like dating someone under false pretenses, which is sick, yes, but back in my Wattpad days, my favorite trope to read was like a bet trope. Like when someone makes a bet, like, oh, I bet you can't date her, and get her to fall in love with you. Ugh, I ate the trope up back in my Wattpad days. And this is what this book is. Basically, this book is about this guy, and he lives in this town, which is basically, it's like basically Outer Banks, which I love. So he lives in like this town, and there are these guys called, well, there's people called clones, which are rich people, and he's like not rich. He's like a bad boy with tattoos and whatever. So this guy comes into his bar, and he's trying to hit on like one of his coworkers, and it's like in a creepy way. So he's like, oh no, he starts fighting him, and then the guy is like, I'm so rich, I control everything around here, so I'm gonna get you fired. So then he gets him fired. So the guy's like, word, fired, heard you. So then he goes on his Instagram, finds he has a girlfriend, says, I'm gonna make his girlfriend fall in love with me and break this man's heart. And then the girlfriend, she is really rich because she founded this app where you can like talk about your boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner, and people really loved it. So she got like really popular and rich, and her parents let her take a gap year off, and then now that that gap year is over, she has to go to college. So that's how she ends up in this college town, and she ends up running into, what is his name, Cooper. And yeah, they actually end up falling in love. And I personally, I had a lot of fun with this book. I thought it was like a fun summer book. There's a lot of drama, and it has my favorite like good girl bad boy trope, which like you don't see that trope really anymore. Like you don't, like, this just reminds me of my Wattpad days, and that's why I love this book. And it's objectively not a good book. Like, was the book good? Was the writing good? No, but I had fun reading it, and that is what reading is all about. Okay, I had a ball reading it, and I like how I knew what the third act breakup was going to be, and so I was just waiting for it to happen and seeing how it was going to be resolved, and it was over very quickly, and it was a fun time. So I don't hate it. And then I read the best romance books ever to be written in the history of man, which is called What He Doesn't Know and What He Always Knew by Candy Steiner. It is technically a trilogy, but most readers who read the series treat it as a duology, and I gave the first book 5 out of 5 and the second book 4 out of 5. This book is about this girl, this woman, and basically her and her husband have had issues in their relationship, and he kind of just isn't loving her like he used to, and like when he kisses her, it like doesn't feel like it used to be. And she goes to work one day, and her childhood, I want to call him her childhood lover, even though they never dated, they just had this love for each other. Her childhood lover is back, and he wants her back, and so she has to choose between the two of them. So it is a love triangle trope. So it has my favorite trope. It has second chance romance, love triangle, best friend's brother, childhood friends to strangers. Like, the book has every trope I love. I cried twice reading this book. I did cry once because her husband had built her a library, and back in like the day, and then she like thought he was like cheating on her, and then he actually was just like redoing her library for her, and it was just so sweet. And I also cried in the end, and I just love how this book was written. You don't know who she's gonna be with, and then for me, I didn't even know who I was rooting for. Like, I was rooting for one person the entire book, and then we got a POV, and I was like, okay, I'm rooting for this person. And the ending was great. I don't care who she ended up with, but I loved who she ended up with, and it was just perfection. Okay, I read Love in Other Words, which I gave 2.5 stars. This one I read for a reading vlog, which is the Swapping My Screen Time for TV Time reading vlog. So if you want a more in-depth opinion on this book, definitely go check it out. But basically, this book is a second chance romance book, and I just thought it was boring. This book also, there's something that happens in this book where the reason, because this is like basically like people we meet on vacation, where like they were besties and then they stopped talking for a reason, and then they find each other again a few years later. I just thought the book was really boring. Like, I don't like in my second chance romances where there's not any angst. Like, yeah, there's angst, but there's not angst. Like like he had a girlfriend, but he like broke up with his girlfriend really fast, and like the wanting to be together but can't be together, and like that's what I like about it. And in this book, I feel like they just felt like they picked up where they left off. And like, this is just a fun cutesy story, and that's just not for me. I like my heart to break a little bit. I like to feel the butterflies, and I just did not feel that in this novel. I thought it was really boring. Didn't care about the childhood stories and stuff like that. And the reason why they broke up makes me very uncomfortable. The way it was written was absolutely terrible. Christina Lauren, what the fuck, dude? It was written so bad to where I was reading people's Goodreads reviews, and they didn't even understand what was happening. Like, they don't even understand what happened to this character, and like people are like, they almost got it, but it was written so bad. It was just absolutely terrible, and I'm so upset with Christina Lauren for writing it the way that it was. I don't know how to explain it, but if you read the book, then you know what I'm talking about. Don't want to give away any spoilers, which this book doesn't deserve. Honestly, I should give away spoilers. The book doesn't even deserve that. Oh, I don't want to give away spoilers, but I have so many books to talk about, I can't waste my time. So then I read It Happened One Summer, and this book was a pick from my Solstice book club. I have a book club where we read a different genre every month because I love reading a bunch of different genres, and I thought a lot of my subscribers also like reading different genres, and I feel like what I would like for my subscribers is to have people who read different genres be subscribed to me, because I read a bunch of different genres and upload for a bunch of different genres. And so I also would like for people who want to read that genre to read it, so I try to pick beginner level like books. So for the first book we picked It Happened One Summer, and then in July we're gonna pick The Last House on Neely Street. But if you want to hear my opinions on this book, you definitely can go check out my live stream where we spent more time talking about not this book basically. But I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I just did not like the book as much. I did like the main character Piper. I love a spoiled rich girl. Like, this book definitely gave that for sure, but I just felt like this book was boring. Like, I was just reading her every day-to-day life while she was in this town, and like I feel like I don't have to explain what this book is about because you all, it's a really popular book, it's hyped, you should know what this book is about. Sorry, I just don't want to waste time. So I feel like you were just reading her every day-to-day life, and like I didn't care about that. But I did love the sibling relationship. I love the town and the locals. I didn't really like the romance, and that's mainly why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I could read a book where I love the romance and hate everything else about it and give it 5 stars. And so for this book to not really care about the romance, they got together so fast. I don't care when characters get together really quick in the novel. It just makes me lose interest. And then this book is about 400 pages. For what? If this was a literary novel, then like, yeah, I understand, but this is a romance novel. You are not Emily Henry, Tessa Bailey. I'm sorry. And the smut was good, yeah. Some of the lines were cringy. So the next genre I'm going to talk about is fantasy romance. I only have one book that I actually like own, and that is Neon Gods. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was okay. This book is a Persephone Hades retelling. It is about Persephone, who was supposed to marry Zeus, and then Hades comes to save her, and they kind of start like this fake marriage dating type of thing. And I personally just was really uninterested. The love kind of started happening like as soon as the book started, and like, yeah, Katie Roberts is more so of a like smut writer. She more so writes like porno plot basically, and so this book had plot. But I like her books that are like, I read another book by her, I'm going to talk about it in the same thing, but I read another series by her, and I really liked that series because she didn't waste my time with trying to create a plot and all this stuff, and like the plot, like trying to create like this big plot, and like I don't know, it just, I felt like this book was longer than it needed to be. I didn't care about the relationship. I didn't care about Hades. He wasn't like as dark as he was supposed to be, and the smut scenes weren't like, I've read better smut scenes by Katie Robert, and I really want to read the next book, but I'm really scared because I love Psyche and Eros, but this book was just meh. And I read a series, I forgot what it was called, but the books are called The Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, and then The Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. So I gave the first book 4 out of 5 stars, and then the second book 3 out of 5 stars. So I really love The Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. It was really good. It was about this girl who, like, in this like fantasy world, oh, the fantasy world was so fun. In this fantasy world, they were like celebrating something, and so she goes off into the woods and like she saves this demon, and she like, her family owns like cinnamon. I also really love like the kids were like named after spices, like her family, and I just thought that that was like so fun. She saves this demon by throwing cinnamon on him, and like he's not like a demon and like anymore, and then he like, she's telling her family, nobody believes her, and he comes to the door and he's like, yeah, you actually just saved me, everything you know is a lie. Like, the woman that you worship, she actually is a lying liar who lies, and you need to go on this journey so we can basically like break all of her hearts in these kingdoms so we can save you and your people and my people as well. And it is a journey book, and this is one of the only journey books I loved. And is it because it has smut in it? Maybe so. And then I read the second book, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This author has very like quirky writing, and like the jokes in the first book were funny, but they were like kind of corny. And then when I read the second book, like it was just too much corniness for me. Like I just couldn't do it. And like I did like it. So that book is just about the main character. The first book, the character from the first book, she has a best friend. So this follows the best friend, and she throws this love potion at like this werewolf, and he was just about to like imprint on her. So she thinks he's in love with her because of the love potion. He's like, nah girl, like we're mates. So he's trying to like prove to her, and she's trying to prove to him, and like whatever. I just thought it was okay. Like I said, this author has very quirky writing, so at a certain point it got like very corny to me, and the titles are like very long. And I hope that like I can see this author definitely getting like published, and I hope that if she does, she changes the titles, because they're so long and quirky, and I can only handle so much quirkiness. Like quirkiness from the title and the books itself can only do so much. The books were really good, and I love the smut. And then I read Bloodlines Vampires, so Sacrifice, Heir, and Queen. So I gave the first 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5. Pretty much how I go when I read romance novels that follow one character, because like I kind of lose my spark for them towards the end. This book is by Katie Roberts. I read this because it's getting a new cover in September, and I was really intrigued by the book. It is a reverse harem, because I got to read my reverse harems, y'all know. So reverse harem is a vampire reverse harem. It is about this girl who's half vampire, half human, and her dad is sending her to live with this vampire as like currency, and she's basically sent under pretenses to like have a baby, and then like they're gonna use that baby for whatever. And so she ends up like actually like falling in love with him, and like his best friend comes along. It was like very smutty. And in this one I really appreciate Katie Roberts, because she doesn't try to waste my time with a plot line. Like yeah, in the last book it did have too much plot. I was like, come on, where's the smut girl? She was wasting my time in the last book. That's why I got 3 out of 5 stars. But the first 2 books, man, it was good. I got exactly what I was coming for. If you remember earlier in the video, I was talking about the St. View prison books and how like I wanted a specific thing to happen, and it doesn't happen. In this book, it does happen. It gave. Oh, I can't wait till September so I can order this copy and reread it, because I'm getting hot just thinking about it. It gave. Now we're gonna get into magical realism. So the first book I want to talk about is the Raven Cycle. These are all out of order, I know. To hear my more in-depth thoughts about these books, I do have a reading vlog on it, and I'm starting a series where I read books that I should have loved. So the first 2 books I gave 4 stars, and no, 5 stars, and the second 2 books I gave 4 stars. I really love this series. I had a lot of fun. I definitely regret not reading it, but if you want to check out more in-depth thoughts, go check out my vlog, because I don't want to waste time. But just know I love these books. They were so fun. And then I read a book called Call Baby, and if you want more in-depth feelings on this, I have, you know, this is also in my swapping screen time for reading time vlog. And I read this one because of Kenya. So this is a magical realism. It is about this family. It starts off with this girl who wants to get pregnant but can't, and so she hears about this thing called a call. So she goes to this black rich family, and the main character is black too. This is a black author. So she goes to this black rich family, and who like they like give people the call, and they deny her, and her life goes downhill from there. She loses the baby, she goes crazy, her husband leaves her, her niece ends up getting pregnant and gives up the baby, and the family actually ends up taking in this baby. The baby's name is Hollow. Love that name. So then you follow Hollow growing up, being a call baby, and like having these like special powers of like healing, and like she's like selling call to people. I wish I could explain to you what call was, but it wasn't explained very well in this novel, so I can't explain it to you. And yeah, that was my issue. So I really wanted to like this book. I was liking it at first, but it just felt like this book was going on forever, and I felt like the author focused a lot more on things that she shouldn't have focused on. Like I wish that there was like an aunt who was like psychic, doesn't get focused on. Her daughter, the aunt's daughter Helen, hates the main character because she gets all this privilege, isn't really touched on. And then you get like pages upon pages of descriptions and dialogues about absolutely nothing, and like dialogue upon dialogue from Mama, who is like I'll just call her like the leader of everything. She's the mom of Josephine, and Josephine is the adopted mother of Hollow. So you basically just get dialogue upon dialogue between the 2 characters about absolutely nothing. And I feel like this book focuses on the wrong things. And so I found myself very bored reading this book, because this book is like 300 pages, and instead of making it more interesting and talking about, you know, Hollow's aunt and Helen, and how Helen hates her, and like all this stuff, you're focusing on something that I don't care about, which is the dialogue. And like at first I thought the dialogue was really interesting, but as it goes on, I'm kind of just like, so now we're gonna get into the thrillers I read. So I read 22 Murders of Madison May, which I gave 5 stars to. I also read this in the same vlog, the swapping screen time for reading time. So basically this book is about this, okay, it starts off with this girl and her name is Madison May, and she's a realtor and she's showing this guy this house, and the guy is like, you're my soulmate, I need to show you something, I need to get you to protection. And so at first she's like but then she's like okay, and then he kills her. He freaking kills her. This all happened in the first chapter, by the way. So then you follow a journalist who name is Felicity, and she basically is finding out about this murder, and she ends up finding about these people who can like jump through time. And so you find out that this guy is jumping through time to murder Madison May, and you're trying to figure out like why, and like it's not really a thriller, it's more so a mystery. But I had so much fun with this book. I personally think this book basically is a commentary on parasocial relationships and how like obsessing over celebrities and things like that. And I just think that it's like so good. And the author is a video game developer, and this book definitely feels like a video game at points, and it also feels like a Black Mirror episode meets the multiverse of madness. And it was just so fun and so good. And I listened to the audiobook, which I think is the best way to go, by the way, because it's like just the best experience. And I can't wait to read more books by this author. I just think that this book was fun. Like it was just a fun summer read, so I definitely recommend this for summer. The last book I'm going to talk about is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, which I hated. So like I said, Ashley Winstead wrote the best book I read this month and the worst book I read this month. I actually want to go back and give In My Dreams I Hold a Knife a 1-star read. I filmed a rant review on my channel membership, but I'm thinking of filming a rant review for my actual channel. And so like I said, I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. This book is about this college reunion that happens, and one of their friends had died a long time ago, so they're all trying to figure out, like they all don't believe the person who murdered the friend actually did it, so they're all trying to figure out what happened. And I just thought the book was, first of all, this book is like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, this book is like so messy. I love messy thrillers. This book was not that. I thought that the mess was boring. And I'm sorry, this is a spoiler, but I don't care because I don't think it should be a spoiler. Basically, one of the characters, you found out that one of the characters is bi, and that they were cheating on their girlfriend with like their best friend in the friend group. And like I hate that. Like I hate that that's like, that was supposed to be like a twist, like a shocking, like gasping moment. Like it makes me so uncomfortable. And I also hate who the killer was. I thought that the book was very boring. Like it wasn't as dramatic as everybody made it seem. Who the killer was boring. And then I also hate in thrillers when the main character, it just has to happen to like don't remember the night something happens, so then you're wondering like, did she do it? And then the girl who died, Heather, first of all, wasn't an interesting character who died. I think it should have been Coraline, because she was kind of the one who brought them all together, and like everyone loved her, and she's like the sweet cute little church girl. But it ended up being Heather, who like at one point I forgot Heather was the one who died. So then when they brought up Heather again, I was like, who? I had a lot of fun in June. Hopefully the same for July. Thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, join my channel membership, and I'll see you guys in my next video.